In this video, I will be going over my 2026 Royal Rumble predictions, how good and seeing how good or bad they were, going over every match. And yeah, let's just get right into it, starting off with the Women's Royal Rumble. I predicted that the 1 and 2 would be Io Sky and Asuka, and I was completely wrong. It was Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, so I don't get any points for that, but I feel like I could have predicted that. I just thought it would be kind of interesting to see something different, but I see why they went with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss as 1 and 2. I did also predict that Tiffany Stratton would return, and I nailed that. She returned at number 30 and was in the final 2. I predicted the most eliminations would go to Jordynne Grace, and that was wrong. She did get 3 quick eliminations when she first came in, but that ended up belonging to Lash Legend with 5 eliminations. I thought the fastest elimination would be Kit Wilson, but he unfortunately did not even enter the Women's Royal Rumble. The fastest elimination actually ended up going to Kairi Sane, which is kind of surprising because I think a lot of people want her to get a singles push, and having her get eliminated in like a minute and a half, I believe, that's not a very good sign, but I think she'll be okay. Yeah, she was the fastest eliminated. And I predicted the Iron Woman would be Io Sky, and I do think she lasted a while in the Rumble, but it ended up going to Charlotte Flair, who lasted nearly an hour. I predicted the Final Four would be Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Chelsea Green, and Roxanne Perez. That was wrong. It was Liv Morgan. I got that. Tiffany Stratton, Sol Ruca, and Raquel Rodriguez. And I didn't know this, but I forgot to mention this in last night's video. Liv Morgan ended up actually like eliminating Raquel, and it wasn't even like an accident. She just straight up eliminated her. So I think the path to WrestleMania is pretty obvious now. I ultimately predicted that Bianca Belair would return and win, but she didn't even return, and Liv Morgan ended up winning, so I don't get any points for that. So in total, I got like 1 point for the entire Women's Royal Rumble, which is pretty bad. Next up, Gunnar versus AJ Styles, and I did predict that Gunnar would win this, and unfortunately I was very, very correct. AJ Styles is no longer in WWE. However, he had the moment in the ring where he took the gloves off. He was about to set him down, and then he picked him back up and put the gloves on and celebrated with the crowd and stuff, and then walked out. So I think that clearly signifies that he's done with WWE, but he's not done with pro wrestling. So I'm excited to see him go to TNA, probably AEW, maybe even New Japan. But yeah, I got 1 point for that. Next up was Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre. And I predicted that Drew McIntyre would retain, and I was correct on that. I did think that there was going to be some sort of shenanigans from Drew McIntyre, but there wasn't, so no points for that, but still, I predicted the correct winner. And of course, I think this was absolutely the correct decision, and Drew looked very dominant, and it really helped cement him as like a beast-dominant champion. Next, last but certainly not least, the Men's Royal Rumble. Okay, Powerhouse Hobbs debuted, now known as Royce Keys, and that's great. But I didn't predict that. I don't know what I was smoking, but somehow I didn't predict that. But Royce Keys is now in the WWE, and that's great. I look forward to see what they do with him. Hopefully he goes on SmackDown, but no points for that. However, I did predict that the megastar LA Knight, would return, and I nailed that one. And what the hell? How did that happen? I just pressed the 7 key on my keypad, and it brought me all the way back to the beginning of the slides for some reason. But LA Knight's back, and he just got eliminated by Cody Rhodes and wasn't even in the Final Four or anything. So isn't that just great? I get a point, but whatever, dude. I also predicted that Seth Rollins would return to number 30, and he unfortunately did not. So no points there. But I predicted Jacob Fatu would have the most eliminations, and I was incorrect. This one was actually a tie between Obafemi and Roman Reigns, both having 5 eliminations. I thought Obafemi should have gotten more than that. He was on a roll at the beginning of the Royal Rumble, and then he just like kind of flattened out, which I thought was kind of unfortunate. So no points for that. I predicted the fastest elimination would be The Miz, and I was completely wrong. Braun Breaker was the fastest eliminated, which I don't think anybody in the whole world saw that coming. I mean, he literally lasted 10 seconds in the Royal Rumble, and I don't think anybody with a functioning brain would have predicted that. I predicted the Iron Man would be Ilya Dragunov, and I was incorrect. It ended up being Javon Evans, which I think is still an absolutely great choice. I was getting worried that because Javon Evans just keeps only showing up on commercial breaks, and he's feuding with Los Americanos, so I was getting real worried about what's going to happen for the future of Javon Evans, but he ended up lasting over 40 minutes in the match, so that kind of gives me some confidence back that Triple H is not going to fumble him, hopefully, knock on wood. I predicted the Final Four would be Obafemi, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Cody Rhodes. I only got one correct, just like the Women's Rumble. I only got Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins didn't return. Obafemi was eliminated earlier in the Rumble, and Cody was eliminated earlier. So, yeah, not very good. The Final Four ended up being Roman Reigns, Gunnar, Randy Orton, and Logan Paul, which I think is a great Final Four, except for Logan Paul. Why does he keep being in the Final Four? Seriously, dude. Stop putting Logan Paul in the Final Four. And the winner of the 2026 Men's Royal Rumble ended up being the OTC, the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. And I've said this a bunch of times, he was my original pick, but then I changed it to... I started hearing like, oh, they canceled Cody vs. Roman at Mania, so I was changing it to Braun Breaker, and then I changed it to Obafemi, who ended up being my final pick, obviously. And I was incorrect. So I'm still happy that Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble, because he's my favorite wrestler. Does he really need it? No, but it's still cool, especially because the one time he did win the Royal Rumble, everybody hated it. So I think this is a good way to kind of like retcon and fix that wrong. So yeah, overall not very good. However, it is my first time doing a video like this, especially for the Royal Rumble. I think next year I'll probably wait till a bit closer to the Royal Rumble so I have a better idea, because I was just completely fucking wrong for a bunch of these things. So yeah. Let me know your thoughts on the Royal Rumble, my predictions, or anything. Ask me a question. I don't know. I'll probably answer. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you want. And